How would you define a community? Is it your town, your school, your congregation? What if community is more than a location or a gathering? What if community is really about the people who are a part of it and what they do together to support, sustain, and elevate the whole? Welcome to Building Community, a new service project and talk show from PACTV. I'm your host, Donna Rodriguez. Through this show, we want to learn about the building blocks of vibrant, supportive, and healthy communities, to explore issues facing our communities, and to showcase the innovative, exciting work that's already being done to elevate the quality of life for our families, our neighborhoods, and our towns. I'm very happy to be joined today for our first episode by two guests who spend every day educating and inspiring all of us to explore the ways that we can contribute to improving our lives and the lives of those around us. Marcia is a registered dietitian and community health educator for Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth, and Gary Maestas, the superintendent of schools for the town of Plymouth. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
We're very excited to be here. This is our first episode. It's something we've been wanting to do for a long time, to be able to have an opportunity to pull people together from our towns and really talk about the issues that impact our towns and the really wonderful work that's being done. I'd love to start off by, I would like to hear your ideas or how you would define a community.
I guess I would define a community as a group of people that share common interests, share geography, where they might live, common practices, common issues, interests.
And that really seems to be the most important thing. It's what we have in common, and it's the social aspect is what makes the community. And Gary, you have a community that you've developed within a town through the school system. What is important for you to look for in a community?
Well, you know what? We are a big part of the lives of a lot of families here in Plymouth, and I think what we try to do and what we continue to try to do with programs that we've had established in the past few years is how do we become part of the lives of families during the school day and beyond the school day. And I think what happens when you move to a community, it's really hard to raise children on their own. Like if, you know, when my wife and I moved to the community we live in, it was really difficult to move there and then be part. So what we want to do is try to create opportunities so that there are easy ways to connect. And I think a community has so many resources, and I think what we've done is we're looking at all the resources that are available. How can we connect them and make them easier for families to connect, to be part of? So walking trails, riding bikes, going to parks, being part of after-school activities. So I think our goal is how do we make raising children easier by combining the resources of a town like Plymouth. So I think it's a challenge because we're such a big community, a big geographic center, which makes it hard. But I think there's a lot of interest in what we're doing. We've made a lot of progress, but community is really important to raise. You know, that whole cliche, that saying, it takes a community to raise a child. It really does. We have to make it easy.
And things have changed so much over the years that we don't necessarily have the same neighborhood structures we used to. So parents and kids aren't as easily connected to one another, and membership and feeling a part of is so much of what makes the sense of community for people to feel invested.
Well, I think one of the issues too that we have that we didn't have years ago is, you know, we would allow children to go out and play on the street. We would play, you'd see pickup basketball, you'd see sandlot baseball. Now people are inside, kids are on video games, they're on social media, they're doing all kinds of different things opposed to the things they used to do. It's almost like we were trying to turn the tables to enjoy some of what today's environment has, and also some of the things that we enjoyed back in the day. So, and parents need a lot of help because there are a lot of parents that two parents working, they get home late at night. So how do we help with that?
To make sure that their children are, while enjoying the technology and independence, still being able to connect to each other, to develop social skills, to be able to also feel part of their community. Because even if you're talking with somebody on a video game, you're not interacting with people. So we really, I think, start to lose some of what makes us feel connected to one another.
Absolutely.
Now, what do you think are some of the characteristics? And I hear all different phrases. I hear healthy community, a well community, abundant communities, vibrant communities. I think we're really all talking about the same thing. a whole community that is supportive to all of the members. What do you think are some of the characteristics of a community that would be all of those things, abundant and supportive and healthy?
The first word that comes to my mind is equity, or equitable, that everybody has equal access to all of those resources. So as Gary mentioned, just learning more about all of the resources that are available and how do we share them with everybody so that everybody has access to them, and that can help us solve some of the issues with what do you do with a kid after school.
Absolutely.
It's not just your social economic status or your physical location in your community, but it's or whether you're able to drive, but being able to find ways to reach everybody and tell them what is available for them.
Well, I think there's a lot of energy in communities to do the right thing, to help. It just takes groups like Beth Israel, the Plymouth schools, and the town of Plymouth to come together to just connect the dots. Because there are a lot of things happening in communities everywhere, but not everybody knows about them. Our kids, they would love to be part of something if they knew what was happening. I can't tell you how many events that happened in our community that people say, I wish I knew, I would have gone. So how do we connect the dots, and how do we use our energy within our network to make some of these things more accessible, equitable? There isn't anything. I mean, if we had a road race, which we have had plenty of road races in Plymouth. I think Plymouth is probably the road race capital of Massachusetts.
Southeastern Mass.
Absolutely.
One a week at least.
They're everywhere. But you know what? If we had kids that knew that there was an entity that would actually pay their entry fee, they'd probably want to run the race. There are barriers that kind of limit. So how do we form these relationships so we can get more and more people to contribute and more people to participate? So Plymouth can make it happen. And we have made it happen for certain things, but I think that's an example of how the community takes care of itself.
And also, I think part of growing a well community is recognizing what some of the barriers are, and not looking at them as a negative, but what are the things that we can be creative about to change our experience to make it more accessible for everybody.
Yes.
And I think participation, not just knowing what events are available or resources are available, but participating in the conversation. It's not an us and them. It's not a leadership of a community, leading or telling everybody what to do, but everybody having an equal voice in moving forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there's an interesting part with that. For about 3 or 4 years in a row, we offered a survey to our students, and it's called the Communities That Care Survey. And within the survey, we asked questions about the community. What do you see? What would you like to see? What are the difficulties that you see within the community? And for many, many years, students have identified there's nothing to do. When we leave, we go home, there's nothing to do. So I think that's kind of motivation from our group, is how do we develop opportunities for them? And how do the organizations that support all these different groups, how can we bring them together to help do that?
Yeah, during those bewitching hours, 3 to 6.
3 to 6, which is also, as we said earlier, can be challenging for parents as well.
If you're working, sure.
Now, also, how do you find, the survey sounds like a wonderful way to be able to reach out to people and see what they need, but what do you find is a good way or measures that groups can use to evaluate where their community is? What are their strengths? Maybe what are the things that they need to work on?
There's needs assessments that are done on a regular basis. The last one that BI Deaconess did was 2012, so that does give us some information. The survey with the students, I think that's just so important to get their impression. And I know I've gotten to the point at any of the community events that I go to, we always have giveaways, so I always try to get something back. So learning more from the actual community themselves, in addition to the leadership within a community, is so important.
And being able to connect to every audience. That I think is something that can be a challenge that's important to recognize as well. How do we connect to our seniors? How do we connect to folks who might have different disabilities? How do we connect to folks who speak different languages or have different backgrounds?
That's the equity.
and being able to bring everybody to the table for the conversation.
Definitely.
Now, one of the things that you've done a lot of work with is going out and speaking to people in the community and educating them about the concept of health and wellness of a community. Now, when I talk to people about the health and wellness of a community, I find that they frequently think just nutrition and exercise, but they don't think of the holistic view. Now, would you like to identify, and we can talk about them more, we're going to be taking a break in a moment, but can you identify some of the areas that you would look at to evaluate the wellness of a community?
Sure, and what you're referring to is the 7 dimensions of health and wellness, and we can use these dimensions at the individual level as well as the community level, but they include physical health, intellectual health, social health, spiritual health, environmental health. Did I say occupational yet?
Not yet.
Occupational health and emotional health.
Yes.
Did I get all 7?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I'm impressed. That was great.
So those are the 7. And when we look at health and wellness, we should look at it from that comprehensive view, that it's not one dimension, it's all of those dimensions that help a person to be healthy and well.
Now, what have people responded to when you start to talk about expanding that? Have people been open to hearing, the different areas of health and wellness?
Definitely. And I think because it makes so much sense. And a lot of times people might not be 100% healthy in a physical dimension. So a classic example might be a person in a wheelchair. So they might feel that their physical health is compromised because they can't move like somebody else. But if the community that they live in has the resources available that they can open a door with a push button, or the races that are offered all the time have a wheelchair division, or the sidewalks have a ramp that they can go up, if the stores that they frequent have aisles that are wide enough, they're not handicapped. So no matter what's going on within each of those dimensions, we have an opportunity to be as well as possible.
And be able to balance out the whole. Now, I'd like to talk about this in more detail, but we're going to take a brief break. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for Building Community, and we'll be right back after these brief messages.
Hello, I'm Lucy. And I'm Flynn. We want to tell you about the Duxbury Education Foundation. For 25 years, DEF has funded grants to improve the education of Duxbury students. Any teacher in the Duxbury school system may apply for a grant each year. Funds for the DEF grants come from generous donations as well as community events, such as the 4th of July Road Race and the annual Phone-Thon. This year, grants included funding for robotic kits, laptops, pottery wheels, gym equipment, and preschool materials, among others. Remember, when you donate to the DEF, you are not only investing in the future of Duxbury, you are investing in the future of the world we live in.
33 years ago, a forward-thinking group of women established the Thrifty Pilgrim, a nonprofit thrift store. The goal of the Thrifty Pilgrim is to help feed and clothe those in need. Today we are 45 volunteers strong and have helped almost 4,000 people in the last year. Volunteer staff and your generous donations allow us to keep our prices low and on-site food pantries stocked. We ask for your continued support through donations of gently used items. Stop by, visit, shop, and see your generosity at work. Thank you.
As a father and youth sports coach in Pembroke, I started this coalition to combat the South Shore's drug epidemic. We're focused on minimizing the existence of local substance abuse through the education of our youth while supporting families impacted by drug addiction. Our goals are to provide formal education for youth about the risks of drug use and susceptibility of addiction, to encourage healthy decisions, lifestyles, and relationships while promoting self-confidence and individuality, and to provide direction for families seeking help in dealing with the stressors and challenges of having a loved one suffering from addiction. For more information, email us at pembroketad@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Building Community. When we left, we were talking about the 7 dimensions of wellness with Marcia Richards and Gary Maestas. So Marcia, If you could remind us, what are the 7 areas that you look to examine when talking about the health and wellness of an individual or a community?
Physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, social health, intellectual health, environmental health, and occupational health.
So that's really looking, again, it's a holistic view of a person and a community. Can you give me, or either of you, can you give me an example of, some of the issues that are important to look at for the social health of a community?
The social health of a community could include everything that happens at a school. It's a huge social environment in the school. The town of Plymouth is rich in a lot of other social activities, whether it's the Lions Club or the Moose. There's lots of programs that the hospital runs that are socially support-oriented. It could be boys and girls clubs. It could just be you and a friend hanging out. So that social dimension of health, it can be a formal thing, but it can just be, it's definitely just having people in your life that help to form relationships.
And that opportunity to connect individually to be healthy, but then to be able to connect to the larger group so you feel you are a part of the community. And when you're invested, you're going to help grow that community.
Yep. They're all connected.
One of the things that you find as a huge benefit living in Plymouth is if you go downtown on a Saturday afternoon, and you can go down to the waterfront, and there's probably going to be some kind of activity down there. And it seems like people they gravitate towards going down just so they can be social, visit, talk with family. They invite family over to their homes. They go down to the waterfront. So I think creating opportunities in a community that foster people coming together, sharing, we want that for kids. We want them to be able to have opportunities to have very healthy opportunities to be social that would enhance the community. I think we all know examples of things that aren't all that positive that kids can engage in that would be social activity, but they're not in the best interest of them becoming enhanced to be positive citizens of a community like Plymouth. So I think it's great to continue to build on this social aspect of positive reinforcing opportunities that will at the same time enhance a community.
Definitely.
And things such as physical health and wellness in a community. It's not just 5Ks, but there is a piece of that, making the community structurally safe so people can be involved in it. So the physical well-being of the community helps the physical well-being of the people who live there.
Right, one supports the other. If we all need to move and exercise, it doesn't have to necessarily be at a gym. But if the community you live in supports your opportunity to move more, that's going to create a healthier person, which is going to create a healthier community.
What about emotional health and wellness in a community? What are some of the things that would be important to look at there when evaluating your town?
Well, I think one of the things that we want our students to feel when they go into any of our schools is that they're stable environments where they can feel that they're welcome, that there are some of the things that they have to deal with from the outside world when they enter into an environment that it's pretty much conducive of a healthy environment, whether it's emotional or whether it's just secure. That level of security in the community helps them to be more emotionally stable, because the last thing we want is our kids to go to an opportunity that might be a social gathering and they're always looking over their shoulder and wondering if they're safe or not. So hopefully the community that we're supporting here in Plymouth is developing these scenarios and these environments that students, families feel that they're secure, that they're safe, so that they don't have to worry about other things that might be able to be introduced into their life that are unhealthy.
That's a very good point. I hadn't even thought from the security point of view how that would, lead to peace of mind. So it would fall under spiritual and emotional well-being of a community.
Yep. And that's one of the things that happens with all those dimensions of health. They don't stand alone. They're all connected. They're all working around each other. That it's hard to have good physical health if you don't have good social health. And things might be out of balance here and there because health is dynamic. It can change in a minute. But all of them work together, so you can never look at one alone because it will always be impacted by another.
Now, when you've been out talking to people and doing the trainings that you have, really talking about health and wellness, has anything surprised you that people have talked about or issues people have brought up?
I think what's surprising me most, I've been doing this work for a long time, since the late 1970s, and prevention was very popular then. It was really the beginning of the whole health and wellness and prevention world. And then it kind of went away and things became very treatment oriented. And what's making me really feel good about the work that we're all doing is that we are coming right back into that prevention mode. And I'm seeing so much interest. People want to do what's good for them. They want the information, they want assistance, they want support, but sometimes they do struggle with figuring out exactly how to do it. And I think that there is just such a great interest from the members of our community in learning everything that they can so that they can live healthier lives for themselves and for their kids. So I think interest, I see interest again. And for a little while, I didn't see a lot of interest.
And I think it's an ongoing conversation now. I think people talk much more about a lot of issues of health. You know, there's still a number of barriers and some things that people seem to have a difficult time talking about. Things like HIV prevention. You don't hear a lot of talk about that in our communities, and it's still an issue. But overall, I think I've seen the same thing. The people seem to be much more aware. Now, you have both been involved with a movement and something that's gotten a lot of attention statewide, Healthy Plymouth. Plymouth is really one of the first communities that did a huge evaluation of itself and really has made a concerted effort to move forward to elevate the entire community. Now, Gary, you've been involved with this since the beginning. Would you like to talk about how it started?
I think people have realized for quite some time that we have such a beautiful environment here in Plymouth. We have schools that are very functional, do a really good job of addressing the needs of when the kids enter the room, enter the door of the school, and when they leave. How do we enhance that? How do we continue to listen to what the community has for concerns, and how do we make sense of it? I think one of the things that this group, town, Beth Israel, and the school department really wanted to do was to listen to the community and be the, if this group doesn't do it, no one can do it. And I think we believe from the beginning that if we put the right people and the right organizations together, we can listen to the community, find out what the priorities are of these organizations, and then start attacking the issue of accessibility, issue of awareness, issue of how do we make things equitable. So I think these groups came together several years ago, and we started a plan, and we've been able to make a difference. I mean, from all the way from what our students receive at lunch, what we have available for students after school, how our roads are designed, our roads going to be designed, about really thinking about if we develop new parts of our community, do we put sidewalks in? Are we going to start taking a look at what enhancements we need to make around activities in the community? We have a big problem in this country right now with prescription drugs. We have problems that have stemmed from that. Well, how do we listen to that? And how do we start attacking the issues that impact communities that we want to make it attractive for people to want to move here? We want to sell our community, and not only sell it, but we want to enhance it for the people that already live here. So we have a huge agenda. But I think we have the right people at the table that are starting to make significant progress. One of the things that we did in the school department was we did an analysis of how do we get kids to actually want to perhaps walk to school. Well, a lot of our schools, they can't walk because they're on main roads. So how do we develop a system, maybe the bus might drop the kids off 100 yards away from school opposed to right in front of the school. So we're looking at this program called Safe Routes to School, of how we can develop systems so that we can actually get kids a little bit of exercise before they come to school. And we're almost tricking them into exercising. They don't really know. They're skipping along down the sidewalk and having a good old time talking with their kids, but yet their heart rate's up. They get to school, they're excited. So we're looking at those things that become ingrained and part of our culture. So I think that's what we're trying to do. And there are a lot of other things, and I know this, we'll be talking more about it, and this program is really kind of just starting to scratch the surface, but we have a lot of neat things that are in play.
You've also done some work with the local markets in being able to offer healthy choices through this
Yes.
program.
Yep. Yep. The Healthy Market Program. We've got 3 local stores in Plymouth, and I'm looking to recruit many, many more. And what these stores, they want to make it easy for their customers to choose the healthiest food. It's not about saying you can't have something that might not be healthy, but identifying those foods that are a healthier option among a group. And that's turned out to be a great success. I'm always circling around the different stores. There's recipes available. We do food demonstrations so people can taste something that they might not have tasted. And we've got shelf tags identifying the healthy option. It's an orange and purple tag.
So it makes it easier for parents, adults, teens in the store to be able to very quickly identify what's healthy and be able to choose from
Exactly.
hopefully the majority of their food from those choices.
Exactly. Making the healthy choice the easy choice.
And there's a lot of information available on the Healthy Plymouth website also.
there
So
is.
we're going to offer links to that
Good.
at the end of the show and also on our website. But believe it or not, we're already starting to run out of time for our first episode. And as we said earlier, we have literally just started to scratch the surface of the conversation, never mind the work that's already being done and the wonderful things. So I would like to thank both of you for joining us for our first episode of Building Community. We really look forward to having you back. And we really enjoy being able to have these conversations
Thank
together.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this first episode of Building Community. Over the next few months, we'll be exploring the 7 dimensions of wellness in more detail and discussing how they relate to elevating the quality of our lives, our neighborhoods, and our towns. For replay times, resources, and more information, visit PACTV.org. If you have show ideas, comments, or questions, email buildingcommunity@pactv.org. Thank you for joining us.